Hello and welcome to Happy You Asked, the podcast where we explore a little thing called joy, one awkward conversation at a time. And I am your host, Erin Claire, currently in Buffalo, New York, which is it's a wonderful and very strange place. There's no place like Buffalo. They don't even know how strange they are, and I love that about them. With me today is Mark Winters, who has his own take on joy, science, and music, three of my favorite topics. Life has taken him from designing rocket parts in Houston to sharing uplifting stories as a songwriter. And as he says, my background in math and physics keeps me grounded, but it's the haiku and wisdom I've traded with my grandmother that pushes me to see optimism everywhere. His focus these days is on sharing messages that help others push through their own scientific, creative, or personal boundaries. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Aaron. I guess I'm beaming in from Texas. You're in New York. Isn't the internet an amazing thing?
Yes. Now, everyone gets the same first question. What is your definition of happiness?
I have a uh, I have this thought around being purposeful. I find myself the most fulfilled, the most happy, the most joyful when I when I have a purpose and I'm striving to achieve that purpose.
Mm.
Which I I can't just sit around and do nothing. I don't like to be rudderless. I got to have a direction, and I got to be moving in that direction. And for me today, that's sharing the positive energy out in the world. A few protons at a time in new songs and live performances. So that's where I feel the most happy, the most fulfilled.
Is there a moment in particular that sticks out for you? Is it on stage when you felt most happiest? You just, that was a good moment.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, like the definition of the beginning, the evolution, the emergence for me was my first time to actually perform music. So I didn't do anything musical other than I was an avid listener until I picked up a guitar to sing a song to my wife for our anniversary.
Oh,
And I just wanted to do something musical. Hadn't done anything, and I had this. So I learned a song, and she didn't know I was learning it. And we went out to dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, and I surprised her by performing a song for her. And everyone else who was there, they all folded their chairs around. But I remember that I don't know, there was this transcendental feeling for me, this connection that I'd never felt before singing that song to her. And it put me on the path to being obsessed with music and creating that moment in my own mind and creating that moment for other people as well in that connection point. And so that's really the sentinel moment where I
mm.
really learned that, music was my way to connect with people. And
How
I've
old
been
were you?
obsessed. So that was 2011.
Mm,
So it's been, I guess
it's
it's
been
been
a
a minute,
minute.
15 minutes. Yeah, 15 years later, I went from nothing to being obsessed and to learning about music and learning to create. And I really didn't become a professional because you didn't know the thing, right? I mean, it was just brand new for me. And so like everyone else, I had to learn and put a little band together and do my thing. And 2019 is when I wrote my first original music and sort of take the bookends of COVID out, like everyone else, take that out. I became professional and serious in 2023. And that's really when I started leaning all into my music project.
What was your life like before music?
I was a happy, engineer. I love math, science. I love business. I love understanding the world around me. So just enjoying, I guess growing up, I was into athletics um, and math and science, and just enjoyed the camaraderie of athletics and the competitive elements to it, and learned loved math and science, and I love chess too, so it was just, kind of doing my thing, being like one part nerd and one part athlete. And that was sort of my life, a little business in there. But yeah, um, just a very different, I mean, interestingly enough, my wife and I, we're doing our thing. Everything was great. Uh, you know, all of a sudden I sing the song for her. I take a left turn at Albuquerque, and she's got to like live through this transformation, for me, as from you know, a science and business guy to, a creative. And she's been amazing supporting me through that whole journey. Yeah, I had these really like these little small moments. Like my grandmother taught me to write poetry like by accident almost when I was a little kid, 5 years old. And, we've traded poems throughout my whole life, it's this poetry pal thing. And every now and then I would like write a poem to a friend of mine, like, oh, hey, I love Erin. I love her energy. I'm going to write a poem and I'll send it to her. It's just like I don't know, a sign of, just the joy of the relationship, right? Just it's celebrating that. And every time I would do that, especially to my engineering or business friends, they would be like, okay, you just read me a poem. That's really weird, Mark. Can you go back to can you go back to your non-poetry reading self now? So I had these moments in time where obviously I wasn't surrounded by creative people. And so just had to, you know, go find my creative journey, I guess, in music. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah.
I was thinking that's really where the question came from because usually what we find is like science brains have a different form of creativity that almost seems to be separate from creative's creative. I think about that. Like I went to Case Western Reserve for my undergrad, which is a very much an engineering school, and but I was on the creative side, and it's almost like oil and water, right? They looked at us like, why would you do that? And go back. So it seems that your transition from something like engineering and science to, really focusing on music isn't something I see happen a lot. Did you get a lot of critique from it, a lot of confusion by people?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Mhm.
I think people so a couple of things, right? So, I think about like, I don't know, two halves of the coin for me. Like when I paint and I write poetry, I do that left-handed. When I do engineering work, I do that right-handed. And that's just been sort of a thing that, you know, my brain has sort of separated those activities a little bit. And I think when I started doing, you know, music, it's like I started it from this engineering perspective. Like, okay, I need to understand the thing and study it and 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 learn the theory behind it. And so, I'm on this journey. Even when I started writing, it was like I was writing like an engineer. I'd get my software up and I'd start programming the song, and it felt just awkward because I'd never done anything, creative or expressive like that. I wasn't in that, growing up. And so I had this journey, and I went to two like of my first in-person education things that I didn't wasn't just on the internet learning. And the two in-person things I went to a blues guitar workshop in California. It's the
Mhm.
first time I ever sat down in front of a professional musician of any kind, and it was phenomenal. And I, you know, I was constantly just amazed at all the skills everyone had and their ability to express with them. And it put me on like a journey to learn. Okay, I need to be that good on my guitar to learn, to be able to be expressive as a professional. And then I went to a songwriting retreat in Austin. Andrea Stolpe in your old neck of the woods, I guess, if you are hanging
Yeah.
out there. Andrea Stolpe, she's like an amazing writer and teacher, educator, Berkeley. She was a label writer, just got a great energy about her. And it was my first time to ever sit in a room. She curates a group, I guess, of 25 or 30 people that come to her retreats 3 times a year. And I was one of them there. And just to be surrounded by people who were amazingly creative, and writing with them every day and performing with them every day, it really showed me what the organic pieces of the puzzle were for people who were professional writers and performers. And so that put me on another journey then to say, okay, don't, for me, don't write like an engineer, you know, fully, become good at all these things, become good at your controlling your voice and your instrument at the same time. The lyrics have always been sort of easier for me just because of my poetry background, but be able to do them all organically on the fly, right? So I went on this journey to like when I write now, I have just my guitar, my piano, and my phone, right? And then just hit the record button, right? Maybe a little iPad or paper to keep track of my lyrics and whatever, but just make it organic, make it flow. And so I had to go on this journey to embrace both sides of my brain at the same time, I think, because the engineer in me could get the theory and the instrumentation and the discipline down. But I had to learn to let that go. And now it's like I have a conversation with myself when I'm writing, like, okay, the poet in me sees something and I'm start observing it, and the scientist in me sees the same thing. And so there's a conversation going on between the scientist me about light refraction and wavelengths, and the poet in me going, wow, that's just a beautiful light and it's warm and inviting. And so I have this conversation going on now. And then I try to, create some emotional elements that sort of represent the feeling I'm having, right?
Yeah, well, I love music especially as a way to think about science and creativity. Because to me, music is science, right? And creating good music is also a science, and there's formulas to it. The way that you resolve different feelings and different, tones. But it falls flat if we don't have that creative element. Just like, well, how does that make you feel? Like, what does it actually do internally to the human brain? Watching my son learn to become a jazz piano player and how he had to understand all of it, the math of it before it sort of made sense. And then he could let go of that and he actually begin to break rules. And for me, as someone who oversees STEM programs and lots of science and just thinking about, okay, where can't AI touch, and thinking about, the creation of music AI and how it falls flat so much because
Yeah.
it's missing that human element. And so there's something about that space right there that to me is at the intersection of where we need to be as humans to understand what makes magic and what just makes something move. Like, does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think like you said, that I think there's a certain amount, like the 10,000 steps you have to put in, like your son, you have to master the thing so that you're not engaging your, I don't know, whatever, your executive brain to think about the thing. Right. And that's just natural and intuitive. And you can let the creative side of you then, I don't know, I think creativity needs a certain amount of structure, right.
Yes.
To blossom. And so, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things I love. So I talk from time to time when I play at a university. And, I'll try to engage their STEM program to say, "Hey, let's talk about creativity with your STEM students," because I think the most successful people that I've met in my science or business journeys have had this creative element. Most
100%.
people, yeah,
Hands
they've
down
got to,
every time.
yeah, 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 yeah. They've got to have some window into their creativity, and they always have like some kind of a hobby that's creative,
Yeah.
right? Because that nurtures that in their soul, I think.
It's a muscle, and like anything
Yeah,
else. And same with your science
yeah,
muscle, your reading muscle,
yeah,
your interpretive muscle. If you're not flexing
yeah,
it, right, then you lose
yeah,
it or you never built it. And I think you're right. Like, you have to have structure to create. And once you understand something and it's not so much about the mechanisms, then you can say, okay, what are the limits to this? And what can I do? And what worlds can I break that feel nice? And what worlds can I break that make it fall apart? Because really, any science, it's good to create something, but music shows us what matters then is what is it, what happens with it? How does it feel to the people who receive it? And the artist gets to make that happen and control that. And we get to see it in a way that we don't necessarily see with science as immediate as we do with music, people's reaction to it. So that's my musing that I have in the airplanes and in places like
I
that.
feel
Like,
you. I feel you. It's like that was the interesting journey. I'd never done anything as a performer, and so just first of all, having the courage to be judged and to be wrong often, right? That's a skill, right?
yeah,
And you can't shut yourself off so that it doesn't matter. It has to matter, and you have to feel it, and you have to let yourself be wrong and or be right, and
or
what
have
that
a
all feels
bad
like.
night.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's just part of the journey. But that connection that you get to allow that to happen, that to me, it's magical. I love it. That's one of the reasons I love being in this profession, is just that connection you get. I don't love it when I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
it's a part of
yeah.
the journey, right?
Well, I think that magic you were talking about the first time you performed, it's almost like
Yeah.
the sparkle that happens in electricity in your body, where you're like, oh, this is what gives me so much that back that I want to keep doing it. And for me, that was teaching. Like the minute I stood up and taught, I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. But just like you, there's so many times it falls flat, right? And it's just like I'm not connecting as well. And other times where it doesn't, I connect and it's like more sparkles happen and that keeps you coming
Yes.
back, coming back. So I think that creativity can come like any performance is such a vast term. If we think about we're giving something to somebody else that we created and cultivated. And really, that's where I see it, be it art, teaching, whatever it is, you're giving something to another and seeing their response and hoping it lands. So I think music's one way, but there are so many.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's finding like how each room I play, where is the connection, right? And how did he get there? And every room's different, right? And so, like
Mhm.
you said, you can stand up and do the thing, you can teach, or you can perform, and the performance from yesterday is not going to necessarily connect from the performance today. So how do you find? I don't think about it like it's like surfing, right? So I'm surfing. It's like surf this wave, not the generic wave. You're up, push up on this wave. I'm rollerblading. I love to go out and hike and rollerblade and do things in the outdoors when I'm out on tour. Hey, I'm in this moment in this park, right? I've got to pay attention to my surroundings, and I'm gonna rollerblade, this route today. And if I take my eyes off the ground the wrong way, or I don't pay attention to the newness of this place, then I'm gonna wreck, right? The same thing that happens in a room when I'm playing. I've got to read the room and be a part of that and get people on the journey with me so that we can all, feel this connection together. And yeah, it's amazing. It's one of the reasons I love like a smaller room, like
Mhm.
a more intimate crowd. I don't know. I haven't ever played a stadium before, or like a giant festival. But that might be its own. How do you connect? How do you be Freddie Mercury, right?
Yeah,
In Rio, right?
yeah.
Connecting with people at that level. That's phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's really shaping and moving energy. Like I saw once Ed Sheeran, little tiny Ed Sheeran, at Gillette Stadium, and right in the middle, which is huge. It's so gigantic, and he's just there in the middle, one man, and he was able to control the energy of those tens of thousands of people. And it's really, whether it's small or big, teacher, whatever, it's thinking, what is the energy in this room, right? And how can I move it so we're all together in a place where we feel similar types of joy or whatever emotion that we're trying to cultivate together in a positive way. And that
Yeah.
idea that we can shape energy together and come to some place as performers is really captivating to me. It's why I love concerts, to see an artist be able to do that or sometimes not do it and see why
Yes.
it didn't work out. Like what was the missing part where they couldn't get the center of that audience. Yeah, I
Oh
love
yeah.
that.
So I'm a big strategist, and so I study Ed Sheeran and his solo performances, John Mayer and his
Yeah,
solo
he's good.
performances, right?
He opened for that show.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can
yeah. There was a
imagine.
there was an interesting little dynamic because Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran opened for John Mayer for a show, and then
Mm-mm.
John Mayer told him he would open for one of his shows. So they're friends, I guess. But both of them masters of the intimate. And then another guy, I watched Jason Mraz. I studied some of his stuff too,
Mhm.
where he plays a solo performance. It's just him and his guitar. And then this guy Mark Skibilia, who's an up and coming guy. And so I love studying the masters at work and
Yeah. Or,
seeing,
or
okay,
Eddie Vedder at Fenway, who could just,
okay,
sit down and
yeah,
talk. And we're all like,
yeah.
what are you saying, Eddie?
What?
Every word, we're on it.
Yep. So how do you make that connection, and that level of authenticity is just phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm studying the masters, so someday hopefully I'll have a brilliant moment like that.
Well, you were talking about how your messaging really matters. So, can you talk a little bit about the messages you try to give out right now?
Yeah, I just personally, I was born seeing the world in this positive way, right? When I meet a new person, I'm automatically, my brain just looks for the best in them, right? I love the way that, I love your thoughtfulness, Aaron. I love the way
Oh,
that,
thanks.
you have a good energy. And I think that, so I think as I'm meeting new people, I think that's just how I see the world. And if life gives me some challenges, I think about, okay, how do I navigate through them? And I can see on the other side of it, that's where I'm headed. And when I meet with my friends or talk with people or I mentor people, I'm always trying to help them see the positive. And so that's just me. That's who I am. Um, and so finding a way through my music to do that at a larger scale, right, in a room where people come into the room and I want them to catch some positive energy from the room. I want them to take that positive energy out into their communities and share a little bit of that. And so I'm always looking for ways when someone is coming in to create the right experience for them to to leave the room a little more positive, a little happier maybe, or with a little more thoughtfulness about some of the great things that this life has to offer us all, in ways in which they can make their communities better. And so that's my goal. I rock with a positive vibe. That's my hashtag. I guess it's acoustic these days, but I think that's what I'm looking for. And it's interesting to try and have a conversation with someone about that. There's a way that people receive that sort of thing, you know, uh, in a warm and inviting way. If you can do it in a way that gets them started without it feeling preachy. So I notice a lot of my music, I have to tone it down, right? Because it's like, okay, people aren't quite as excited as I am about life and where the world is, and so I have to meet them where they are with a song, and or with a performance, meet them where they are, and then connect with them, and then share some of those perspectives that hopefully will create some of that positive energy for them. The scientist in me thinks, okay, I got all these extra protons in my sack, I'm walking around with, and I'm gonna, as I'm meeting with people, I'm gonna share these protons with everyone, so that they can take them out in the world and shine them elsewhere.
Yeah, well, sometimes too, I feel that people really hang on to their negativity as if their negativity is a form of helping the world. Like they're upset about something, so being upset is helping. And not seeing that we can be positive while still understanding the gravitas of a situation and
Yeah,
helping to solve it. In fact, the
yeah.
negativity itself isn't the solution at all. It's our care and concern and our actions towards solving something rather than our feelings about it, right?
Yeah, I completely feel you. It's like, you have to, I don't know, you don't have to, but from my point of view, I think it's helpful for everyone just to see, like you said, understand the gravitas of something, right? And then understand, you know, uh, how you can find a pathway through it in a way that makes the world a little bit better, right? Let's
Yeah.
make the world a little better, right? I don't know, my grandma's saying, right? Leave the world, or leave the campground, or leave the room a little better than you found it, right? That
Yeah.
was one of her things. And that just sticks with me. Yeah, you can find a little extra energy, um to make the world a little better. I don't know, sometimes weird things happen to me, like I'm out in, my wife and I were out hiking in a national forest. We're on this beautiful hike. It was in Zion, and if you've ever been there, it's just phenomenally beautiful. um, and we were on this long hike, and look back 2 hours into the hike, and I had lost her, right in the
Oh,
middle of this giant forest, right? Well, I found her. She had stopped to take a picture. I'm tall and she's short, and so I strided ahead, and you know I came back after that experience and said, okay, well, sorry for losing you, A, but B, then it made me think, okay, you know, there's a purposefulness to staying in the rhythm with people around you. Like I'm tall and she's short, so it's easier for me if I'm just a little bit mindful to keep a slower pace, so she doesn't
mhm.
have to run to catch up with me. And I need to be mindful so that we stay in the rhythm together of life, and we see and experience life in the same way. And that became a song for me, all in the rhythm, right?
Oh,
Um, and
I
so
love
so
that. As a
this, yeah.
short person, I love that because I'm always like,
See,
I said that to my son yesterday. I'm like, my
yeah.
legs are half the length of yours. Come on.
That exactly that,
Yeah.
right? And so I think you have to be mindful of those around you, and how to stay connected with them. So that's a little view, into my brain on how something might happen, that I might find a way to share that feeling, in some positive energy.
Do you have any other like or song origins? Another one you'd like to share?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have a song that just came out, that I wrote with my son, and it's a song about nature versus nurture, right?
Mm,
What are we? Are we products of our genetics? Are we product of effort and opportunity we're afforded in life? What's what drives us, right? And I think, uh, you know, younger in my life, I know, I was always looking for a way to step away from my parents and
mhm,
find me, right? And even though maybe my genetics might have made me, you know, predisposed to do something, maybe I wanted to try something else, right? And so just sort of being, mindful of that. We wrote the song, we titled it because of that sort of tension. We titled it "Can I Rise?"
mhm.
And just about, okay, um, you know, it starts off, I've got a map in my blood, right? Stories that I've never been told. My ancestors, whisper, all these things to me, and I'm not sure what direction am I going to take, and can I rise above all of that, or are my roots going to hold me down,
Mm.
right?
That's I love that
So
concept,
yeah,
especially, all the different places you visit. Sometimes,
yeah,
you know, for me, it was always my roots told me I had to strive higher, but I see some of my students where their roots are keeping them right where they are. I love that
yeah,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So there's a story behind all my music, every one of them. I have some
I do
interesting
want to ask,
moments, but yeah,
how was
yeah.
it to write a song with your son? How was that experience? Because I don't know,
You
is
know,
that easy, difficult?
shit, phenomenal, phenomenal.
Hmm.
I so uh, when I went to Andrea Stolpe's retreat, I had never, I'd written a few of my own songs, obviously, and whatever, but I'd never written with someone. And there's a mindset. And so what I think Andrea was amazing at, we were there 5 days. Every day we would do education up until 3. Then she would split us up into 3-person writing teams, and you had to write a song together and perform it that night as a trio,
Oh,
right? So the
get it
pressure was
done.
on,
Yeah.
right? And then all these people are amazing and talented and whatever, and so you don't want to be that person who did the worst song or the worst performance, right? So you got some juices flowing, but she put us all in the right mindset. And so one of the things I learned a ton of things. I'd never done free writing before, so I learned free writing with her. I learned, how to sort of, distill a concept from free writing down into, lyric, and a bunch of other things. And so I think just part of me then, when I'm writing with someone, I'm kind of using this journey that I went on with, you know, whatever, 15 different people throughout my 5 days that I had to sit down and co-write with. Um, it's been a great formula for me. So we're going to sit down and write together, Aaron. What are you feeling? What am I feeling? Let's, you know, let's have a conversation. Let's get to know where we are. What do we want to write about? Do you have a topic? You know, I have tons of topics. I write poetry every morning. I can pick one of those. We can pick something together. What are you feeling? And so I find myself then, having this conversation, in a similar way as I co-write. And then we end up finding something that we're both going, oh yeah, yeah, I feel that. I feel, this, I feel this moment like, when can you break the rules? Like today from our conversation, like, okay, when can you break a rule in life? Let's write about that because you've got this journey with your son, and I can think about me, and so we find a commonality, and then we get on this journey together. And so as I'm writing with my son, I'm going through the same process, and you find just the way I work, like I'm I'm looking for your superpower. What is Aaron really good at? And in my journey writing with you, I want you to shine in that area. So, because you're just super good at it, right? And so, my son just happens to have this intuitive feel for melody. He's just like the most amazing melody person,
That's a
right?
gift.
It's an amazing gift. I could give him like a random page out of a book and say, you know what, sing this,
I
and
love that.
he's just got a way, right? And we interact in a way like, okay, I'm really good at lyric and prosody with the melody and the rhythm and the structure of creating the structure enough to have the melody have some creative
The
space.
box for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so we sit down, and that's the superpower. That's my superpower. Do the thing, and we write, and it's phenomenal. And so that to me, yeah, it was amazing. It's a gift. I mean, to do something creative with a family member like that. Oh
Oh,
my God,
yes.
that's just phenomenal.
Yes. It feels so good.
Phenomenal. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah,
The more the merrier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How
for
about one?
sure.
I want to hear another though, origin song, for
Okay.
origin story for one of your songs.
Yeah. So I might mention my grandma. She was super influential for me, and um, you know, she uh, she taught me to write poetry when I was young. Um, and I was sitting down with a friend of mine, Joanna Ensley, in Austin, and we were doing a co-write. And I was talking about my grandma and how she taught me to write poetry. And Joanna's like, "Yo, that's really cool." She said, "I think I had an uncle that had some influences in my life as a mentor." And we started thinking about, I told her, I still hear her voice, in my life. And she's like, "Yeah, I know what you mean." And I'm like, "Yeah, like even in the way my son talks or the way my daughter bakes, even my grandmother passed a few years back, but I still hear her in what I do and what I say and what my kids do and say." And it's like, okay. So I started writing, around that topic. I hear your voice in the words I say, in the laughter of my son, right? And the poetry you read was the recipe to life, right? I mean, so just to me, it's a song in honor of her, and I hear her voice today, still guiding me and still with me. And so, yeah, yeah, that's one of my favorite songs to play live. Um, just a great honor. I think of her,
Yeah.
always when I'm playing
Yeah.
that, and all the amazing grandparents out there who are creating this, positive mentoring experience in something like the arts or some other thing. It's
Yeah.
it's a tribute. Yeah,
And what I love about that too is when we create, to me, when we create something out of a feeling like that, like
yeah,
missing someone, that then lets it live on that person for so many people. And it gives an outlet where we don't have to carry a weight that we previously had to carry. It
yeah,
makes it into something beautiful. And for me, there's so many people who are like, oh, I really wish this person had like some sort of outlet where they could create something to give to the world. And it doesn't have to be like music. For me, I create, yoga classes. That's where I'm going to put it around a concept that I'm dealing with like that. So there's so many different forms of creativity. It just doesn't feel like whatever it is on is weighing. You can release it in a positive way. Then it's the right thing, at least according to me.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
like that lesson very
yeah,
much.
for sure. Yeah, I think you know, there's there's a there's a like a joy in creation, there's a joy in I don't know, just when you slip into the moment of something and that's all there is. I don't know, like sometimes in yoga, like if I do yoga, I'll get into the rhythm and
The flow state.
the flow. Yeah. So okay, yeah, I've got a new song coming out
Mhm.
called Into the Flow. It's about
Oh,
that.
yep.
It's about that. It's like, I've been all around this big old town looking for the things I want to do, right? So here I am tonight, singing for you, and I'm into the flow, right? So
Yeah.
it's got this, surfer. I don't know. First time it happened to me, maybe I was reading a book, and I just love the world just
Yeah, time and space
evaporated.
gone. Yeah.
Yes, that thing. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. So yeah, for sure.
And when we can find that, oh,
Yeah.
so sweet and beautiful, and then we just
Oh
keep doing
yeah.
that thing
That
because
thing.
then
Oh
we're
yeah.
in
Yeah.
rhythm. We're in rhythm with, the universe and just motion, and things don't feel so hard. And there's
That.
ways. We just all have to find what our flow state is, and sometimes that can be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I'm I find it more often in music than I do anywhere else.
Same without a
Yeah.
doubt. It's easiest there for me
Yeah.
to access because it's whether you're creating it or listening to it deeply, it's already that container. It's like, here, be in this flow state and flow along with me and the, Fleetwood Mac or whatever, and you can be there for a minute. And I love that when we can live
Yeah.
inside a moment.
Yeah.
Well, so we were talking earlier before we started that you're touring. Can you tell people a little bit where they can find you coming up?
Yeah, yeah. I'm headed out on the Good Vibes Highway Tour in the fall. So I'm headed east out of Texas, down the Gulf Coast, and up the eastern seaboard, up into Canada. I play across the top of Canada, and then I zigzag back down through the eastern states on the way back to Texas. So I'll be leaving on tour. My tour starts August 20th, and I'll be back home in mid-November. So I've got tour dates up on markwintersmusic.com. You can find a little tour tab, or if you're a Spotify or Apple person, I think my shows are all on there as well. So you can find a show in your area. But yeah, we've got a lot of amazing shows. I'm going to play 65 shows in the fall. So,
Woo!
yep, a show every night, like a little inchworm, moving from here all the way around my route. So 20,000 miles.
Well, take care of yourself on the road. I cannot imagine that's an easy life um, for that long, but take care of yourself while you're doing that.
You know what? I drive about 5 hours a day, and you think that might get tedious, but I get such an emotional connection when I play that night that it just makes it all work.
Yeah, when you're excited about where you're going, it makes the drive a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if I have two questions left for you, one is if you had advice for anyone listening, what would be your advice for them?
Um, uh, take a moment to, you know, look for things around you that you can appreciate.
Mm.
Um, I think if you do it a little bit of that, a little more often than you normally would, whatever that would be, uh, I think it just makes you a more joyful person.
I love that advice. Sprinkle it around a little bit. A little dash here, a little dash there. A
Yeah, exactly that.
few more dashes when you're feeling down, right?
Find those protons around you. Okay, the scientist in me now, right? Find a
Yep,
few extra protons and share them
that's
with people.
exactly
Yeah.
right. I
Anyway,
love
yeah.
that. And the last and most important one for you, you get a song to add to the Happy US playlist. And I want to know, is it one of yours?
Oh, I get a song to add.
You get one
Um,
song.
oh, okay. Um, yeah, I'd say I have a song that's not released yet, but it's sort of the essence of the happiness vibe for me. It's called Shine with Me. Um, it's about finding the right energy around you and helping it shine in the world. So I would say, uh, yeah, that would be what I would want to add, just given your energy and the way that you are vibing with the world. So stay tuned. It's coming out in maybe 4 months. So
All right, so when it comes out, it'll be added to the playlist. Now I'm gonna have to make a note for myself to look and add
I
it
will
then.
send it your way for sure, Aaron.
Perfect, perfect, even better.
Yeah.
It'll be immediately on there the minute it comes out, and I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Or maybe we could add Into the Flow. Into the Flow is coming out in 6 weeks. That's a little
uh,
closer. So
even better
yeah.
because I we'll add both for you. How about send them
Yeah.
both to me? We're gonna add them both because Into the Flow,
That'd be
that's
awesome.
our, yeah, that's our yoga one, the Shine With Me. That's just the theme.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
I
I
love
will
that.
send you a note when they're out for sure.
All right, Mark, this has been the absolute joy of my morning. Honestly, I was in a foul mood for just because I had to drive today and I don't want to. And now I'm not because it's a beautiful day. I'm
Yay!
gonna be with my kids. I don't have anything to be pissed off about. So thank you, Mark. You helped
You're
remind
welcome,
me that
Aaron. You
very
got
much.
it. Well, thank you very much for having me. You're amazing to talk with.
Oh, thank you. And everybody, please check out Mark's music. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. I appreciate y'all. Till next time. I'll see ya. Bye.